the Honorable Minister of National Housing and Social Amenities, Comrade D. Garwe, the Honorable Deputy Minister of National Housing and Social Amenities, Honorable Simbane Gawi, members of the House of Assembly and Senate here present, the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of National Housing and Social Amenities, Engineer Chinyanga, is represented here by the Director, Kuanda, provincial heads of government ministries and departments, the Masvingo acting town clerk, and the chief executive officers here present, the DDCs for the province of Masvingo, media, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends. It is my singular honor to welcome you, Honorable Minister of National Housing and Social Amenities, Comrade D. Garwe, during your special maiden tour of our province, Masvingo, to consult with stakeholders on national housing delivery. This tour, which seeks to create a platform of engagement between government and the housing sector stakeholders, comes at an opportune time when His Excellency the President recently called for the nation to work towards the fulfillment of all set programs and projects in pursuit of our national vision that will become an upper middle income economy by 2030. Honorable Minister, on behalf of the people of Masvingo, and indeed on my own behalf, I would like to assure you of our full support to your mandate and function on national housing and social amenities provision. The delivery of housing and social amenities is a public good and a rallying point for all progressive Zimbabweans. The quality and accessibility of housing and amenities infrastructure are an indicator of the level of living standards of our people. To us, sustainable spatial development, delivery of housing and social amenity services are an industry and a key enabler for growing our provincial GDP. As such, we are alive to the call by His Excellency the President, Comrade E. D. Mnangagwa, that sustainable spatial infrastructure development planning acts as key tools for modernizing and industrializing our country. This call, therefore, is a constant reminder to us as a province that we should always play by the rules and regulations governing national housing and human settlement development, which include adherence to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 6 and 9 on well-developed resilient infrastructure, which promote inclusive industrialization, urbanization, and rehabilitation of water and sewer systems. The national housing policy, and 3, mainstreaming risk reduction and disaster management for all government-sponsored housing programs for our rural communities in the face of natural disasters such as Cyclone Idai. By and large, my province will seek to embrace the smart city concept and urban renewal strategy as a way of setting global housing and social amenities service delivery benchmarks. Honorable Minister, Masvingo would like to be part of your envisaged collective responsibility you called upon to all stakeholders after your swearing-in ceremony at State House. Through leveraging on the provisions of our government policy on devolution of powers, roles and responsibilities, and functions, and we have abundant land and high demand for housing. It is our wish that your ministry adopts an inclusive, deep, and wide approach in the management of the policy on commonage, as our expectations are that locals benefit from the resources in their areas. Our participation in the above policy will enable us to address areas of exclusion which key stakeholders such as the disabled, veterans of the liberation struggle, women and youth often face in accessing and owning housing. In addition, the province's involvement in matters of national housing delivery will be a conduit in fulfilling the dictates of the Constitution on Human Settlement, where Section 29 provides that the state, all institutions and agencies of government at every level must take reasonable legislative and other measures to ensure that every person has access to adequate shelter. Equally, our local authorities, both urban and rural, should support the collective responsibility and trajectory through provision of safe, healthy living environment characterized by supply of safe, clean and potable water, as well as sustainable management of waste. We shall also seek to engender the presidential cleanup declaration in all our human habitat as we fight the global COVID pandemic and outbreaks of waterborne diseases. Guest of honor said, Masvingo province is alive to the national housing development delivery target of 1.5 million medium income housing by 2030. In this view, local authorities and property developers in the province are united beyond this national goal. In this unity of purpose, the housing stakeholders seek to embrace and advance the values of good corporate governance, which are servant leadership, transparency and accountability in public finance management, sustainable environmental management, which include avoiding developing houses on wetlands, and as a province, we further would want to see sanity prevailing in the housing delivery system by deliberately fighting corruption and land barons who in the past fleeced home seekers of their hard-earned cash. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call upon you to use this important opportunity availed by the Honorable Minister of National Housing and Social Amenities to best advantage. Let us, in our conversation with him and his team, be honest, open, and factual. In conclusion, I would like to wish the August House fruitful deliberations and a fruitful day of engagement and sharing of ideas. I welcome you all to this very important meeting. Thank you.
Our Director of Ceremonies, Acting Provincial Development Coordinator, Baba Mbetsa, the Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution in Masvingo Province in absentia, Comrade Chadzamira, represented here by the PDC, Deputy Minister of National Housing and Social Amenities, Comrade Simbanegabe, ku Ministry Tinowati Mwanaskana. The Acting Chief Director of Housing and Social Amenities in the Ministry of National Housing and Social Amenities, Baba Kwanda, and his entire team. Chairpersons, chairmen from the various RDCs, the town councils here present, CEOs here present, senior officials from the civil servants community, members of the media who are here present, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Salbonani. Thank you. It is indeed a great privilege, Acting Chief Director, to come to stand before this august house to share the thoughts, the ideas, and to articulate the political prophecy from His Excellency, Comrade E. D. Mnangagwa, the political prophecy which is Vision 2030, focusing primarily on what the Ministry of National Housing and Social Amenities stands for or was created for. We all are aware of the fact that a government is a product of a political party. The political party that won elections, the political party that is running and governing this country is the ZANU PF. Therefore, the government is an implementing organ of that political party. It's an implementing organ of the policies as enshrined in the manifesto during the campaign. The manifesto, which in very brief terms, which spoke to unity, development, building, and employment. Those are the pillars that we are running with as we discharge our duties in the Ministry of National Housing and Social Amenities. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2018, when the President was sworn in as the President and the First Secretary of ZANU PF First, and as the President of the Government of Zimbabwe, of the Republic of Zimbabwe, and Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, Comrade E. D. Mnangagwa, he came up with a political philosophy. He came out with a vision that Zimbabwe must attain an upper middle income status by year 2030. In our various workstations, we know where we place. We know where we are supposed, what we are supposed to be doing to ensure that that vision becomes a reality. The vision is a political prophecy. It is a political vision. It requires the participation of the technical people to realize it, to make it a reality. The technical team comprises the line ministries, various cities and towns in the country, Masvingo included, various RDCs and all the RDCs here, the 7 of them, is part of that. The various professionals who were mentioned here in their different capacities, we must all work together to ensure that Zimbabwe becomes an upper middle income economy by year 2030. Our lane is very clear. Our lane is to provide sustainable, affordable, and modern human settlements that speak to that vision. As the Ministry of National Housing and Social Amenities, we cannot do it on our own. We need the participation of everybody. We are working very closely with the sister ministries, particularly the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works, the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure Development, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Information, all other line ministries. They are working very closely with us to ensure that this vision becomes a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, when we speak of provision of sustainable, affordable, and modern human settlements, what are we talking about? We are basically talking about houses that speak to a modern world. We are talking about shopping malls and schools and clinics and hospitals that speak to a modern world. We are speaking about modern developments where all the enablers are put in place before a house is built. By enablers, I'm referring to roads, water, sewer, energy, Wi-Fi, all those enablers. We are all aware of what has been happening in the past 20 years in the country, where houses have been coming up in an area where there are no services. The new thrust is now to ensure that we provide those services before a house is built. Affordability refers to a house where everybody is in a position to afford at least a house that falls within his cluster level in terms of affordability, in terms of the finances. Houses that speak to social structures. If we are a civil servant like myself, or also all of us are probably civil servants, we must also benefit from the program, just like the way anyone else benefits. If you are a Zimbabwean citizen and you are not a civil servant, you must also benefit. It doesn't matter which direction you are coming from. For as long as you are a Zimbabwean citizen, you must be must benefit from the development. The ministry was created knowing fully well the impact or the effects of the natural disasters that have been bedeviling this country. We go to Manicaland in Chimanimani, we are all aware of Cyclone Idai and the damage it caused to that province, particularly to that district of Chimanimani. We go to Binga, we are aware of what the floods did to the people of Binga. About 38 families plus had houses swept away by floods. We are aware of the continuous droughts that we are experiencing as a country. We are aware of the earth tremors that from time to time we experience as a country. So we are saying the houses that we are building, the schools, the shopping malls, any infrastructure that we can think about must be resistant to those effects. Our engineers and architects, planners, and members of the physical planning community must come up with designs that speak to those three pillars. The new designs that we are asking everybody to come up with, particularly the local authorities, even the RDCs, are designs that are resistant to the effects of climate change, are designs that speak to the Sustainable Development Goals as enshrined in the United Nations Habitat, which the Honorable Minister in his speech was mentioned, SDG goal number 6 and 9. We are also aware as a ministry that in terms of the constitution of our country, and by the way, our president, Comrade Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa, is a constitutionalist. Being a constitutionalist, he respects the constitution. In that constitution, we have got two fundamental rights that speak to people. The first right is the right to dignity, human dignity. The second right is the right to shelter. It was read. One feeds into another. We must provide human shelter in terms of the human settlements we're talking about, so that people have got human dignity or enjoy human dignity. We can't be seen to be enjoying human dignity if we've got our citizens sleeping in pavements and under trees. The Constitution does not allow us to do that. The president has interrogated all those and created this ministry and said, go out there and provide human settlements to Zimbabweans. $1 million question that we'll all ask is, where are we going to mobilize the resources from? Where are we going to get the funds from? That shouldn't be a worry for all of us. For before the pronouncement of the Vision 2030, the president had interrogated all those. The first port of call in terms of resource mobilization is the Minister of Finance and Infrastructure, Minister of Finance and Economic Development. Through what we call PSIP, Public Service Investment Program, Minister of Finance is going to avail money to the ministry for purposes of providing human settlements. That's number one. The second one, equally critical also, is we have gone out of our way to mobilize resources from the private sector players. We've had serious discussions and meetings with the banking community. One, for them to be able to provide user-friendly mortgage facilities so that our people can apply for mortgage facilities and afford and be able to pay the mortgage facilities for a period of 25 years, not 10 years, which we've been experiencing for the past 5 years or so. Those discussions came up with a positive result. They agreed to that, and as we are speaking, they are now revisiting the mortgage facilities. They are fine-tuning those mortgage facilities. We will probably, as a province, acting provincial director, we are going to hand over a project in Masvingo Rural, Nemwamwa project, where the ministry has provided roads, water and sewer for the benefit of people in Masvingo. The priority must be given to people who live in Masvingo. The priority will be given to civil servants in Masvingo and the general citizen in Masvingo. We are speaking with a bank that has expressed keen interest in providing the user-friendly mortgage facilities. Mortgage facilities to cover the cost of land, to cover the cost of building the house. We have got various models that we have come up with, and people will choose what they want. But that facility is going to be user-friendly. It's a mortgage facility that ensures that you will pay your mortgage on a monthly basis, but still be able to have money to do other things from your salary. I'm talking to fellow civil servants. We have said no to mortgage facilities that, that ask for very complicated information to be signed in a paper. We do not have that. We are all aware of the fact that Zimbabwe is largely being run by SMEs. Even our salaries cannot afford high payments to mortgage facilities. We are all aware of that. And the banks are also aware of that. And we've sat down with them and said, look, why don't you redesign the mortgage facilities so that they speak to the economic environment in the country? And one thing that we know us as Zimbabweans are capable of doing is to pay rent. So the mortgage facility that we are talking about must be a mortgage facility that is in line with the rentals that we are paying. I will come to the rent. That's the facility number one. And this is what we're going to be doing at Nemam. I think within a month or so, there will be a proper launch. I don't want to get into details because the resident minister is not here. Yes. But we will motivate other meetings with him so that we fine-tune. It's a project that is ready for a takeoff. And it will be, I will be very grateful as a ministry. People that are in here can also benefit from that. It's a first in the country. And we want to make it as a model project. That's one program. The second program with the banking community is for them to provide financial resources for servicing of stands and for building houses. And we provide affordable land. And then come up with structures which can be given to the Zimbabwean citizenry on a rental basis only. Just for rental. That's one program. Another program is to come up with the programs where we provide the land on an affordable basis as government, the financial community, they provide the financial resources that we require. We put up structures which are sold to people on a rent-to-buy basis, RTB. Rent-to-buy basis is another phase of a mortgage facility. We are saying, look, if a person has spent 25 years renting a house, surely he has paid for that house. That house must be made available to that person, to him or her. It's a program that we are developing with the banking community. The private sector companies, insurance companies, pension funds, and other big corporates like Delta, Dairy Board, we've also spoken to them and said, you have got a lot of your employees who do not have accommodation. Why can't we come up with models as well, where government provides land at affordable cost and you provide the financial resources that are required. We build houses for the benefit of your employees. And they take it on a rent to buy basis as well. It's one of the models that we're working on. We are also talking to the mining community. We know that mines provide accommodation for their employees. The moment you resign or you retire or you are fired from work, you become a destitute the following day because you don't have accommodation. So we said, look, we don't want to get into mines accommodation. Why don't you provide financial resources? The various RDCs where you're operating from can provide land, and we build affordable land, and we build houses for your employees, so that when they leave employment or when the mine is closed, at least they will remain with shelter above their heads. These are other programs that we're developing. We are speaking to the international community, finance community. We are speaking to investors outside Zimbabwe, from China, from South Africa, and other countries, who are keen to come and invest in housing in the country. What is delaying progress right now are the effects of COVID-19. Not the lockdown period. No, there is no movement between countries right now. So we basically saying, let's prepare now so that after lifting of lockdown, we should be in a position to start building throughout the country in a very serious way. The focus from where we are coming from as a country has been primarily on development of urban areas, cities, towns, peri-urban areas. And very little attention has been paid to the rural community. But you and I know pretty well that the majority of Zimbabweans are domiciled in the urban, in the rural areas. The majority of civil servants, particularly teachers, are resident in the RDCs. Why can't we, as a government, provide accommodation in the RDCs so that our civil servants or any other Zimbabwean can benefit? It's a program that has already started. The Department of Fiscal Planning in one province is working on those models. We want now to change the face of Zimbabwe by closing the development gap between urban areas and the rural areas. We want to influence the movement of people from urban areas to rural areas. We are all aware, those that were there with me, in 1980, all of us, the focus was to get into the nearest urban area from where we stayed. Because we believed then that life was in the urban areas, life was in town. He put in Shona, taimanya tese kuya kwenda kumagetsi, kune magetsi, ndoko taida kuya. Vakazvarwa nguva yandakazvarwa inini. That a high impact on the services that the towns were providing. What kind of services? When our cities and towns were developed, they were developed with a specific population. Because it was a specific population, the road network was designed for a specific population of vehicles. The water and sewer and electricity were developed to accommodate a specific population of human beings. But we experienced and we continue to experience an exponential growth in population in all our urban cities, urban areas. This has created a lot of problems. Problems in terms of backlog in housing waiting lists, problems in terms of clogging our services. The water systems cannot cope, the sewer systems cannot cope, the energy systems cannot cope, even the roads cannot cope. The design was for such a few vehicles, now it's 1 million plus. So the only way that we can, one of the ways that we can use to ensure that there is a reverse movement of humans from urban areas to rural areas is to deliberately develop rural areas, RDCs, and provide the same houses, the same social amenities that people are enjoying in urban areas, provide them in the RDCs with all the services that we imagine, with the roads, with running water, with sewer, with energy, alternative energy. This time we're looking at solar energy, with Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is now an integral part of the service, of the enablers. This is what this ministry is working on. To achieve that, departments were created. Departments outside the normal ones like finance, human resources, legal department, audit, ICT. We have got a department of urban housing and social amenities, whose acting chief director is Vakwanda Warpan. We have a department of rural housing and social amenities. These departments are going to be central and key in the deliverables that I've mentioned. We are not going to be ignoring the urban areas because we are focusing on the rural areas. The Department of Urban Housing and Social Amenities will focus on the dance and music in the urban areas in terms of construction. The Department of Rural Housing and Social Amenities will ensure that there is a seamless relationship between the urban communities and the rural communities by providing the services there which are in urban areas. Look, we have people, obviously, in here who are, which is the nearest RDC to Masvingo?
It's in Masvingo Rural.
Masvingo Rural, Nemangwa.
Yes.
People that live in Nemangwa were coming to work in Masvingo and go back. So, hence, we are saying let's develop Nemangwa, provide beautiful houses, provide schools, shopping malls there, so that people can live and work there. We are also saying what are the economic factors that drive the economy of Nemangwa. We will get that by consulting with yourselves. We will not think on it on our own. It will not be proper. We will consult yourselves and invite investors who are keen to invest in that type of activity that drives the economy of Nemangwa, that drives the economy of Bikita or Zaka. That's what we are doing. So that people do not want to think about Masvingo or Harare or Mutare or Chinhoyi when they are thinking of employment. Let there be employment in the rural areas as well. We are seriously considering and talking to investors. There are investors who are keen to come and invest in our RDCs. Land. Land is such a finite product. We are all aware of that. We do not have land in infinity. It is a limitation. Because it is a limitation, we now need to refocus on how we develop our areas. We move away from expansive developments where we take a lot of land to develop, to vertical construction. Our vertical spaces are empty and hugely underutilized. We are now saying, why don't we focus on building flats going upwards? Start with 4 or 5 floors, walk-up flats. As our electricity situation improves, go up even to 20 floors, so that becomes the new normal in terms of development. Because if we continue going expansively, we will hugely eat into agricultural land. We will hugely get into our forests. 50, 60 years from today, there will be no Musasa tree to talk about, because we'll have cut all the trees and put up houses. 50, 60 years from today, there will be no agricultural land, because every piece of land will be accommodating a house. Then we start sitting down and saying, where do we get food from? We don't want to be perpetual importers of food. Agriculture is the mainstay of our economy. It's so key to our livelihoods. We must preserve agricultural land. So I'm appealing to local authorities, I'm appealing to RDCs, please let's consider going vertical. Whether it's residential accommodation, or it's commercial accommodation, or it's industrial accommodation, let's build going vertical. The vertical spaces are empty right now, and it is our right or our opportunity to reconsider our designs. I'm happy that we've got engineers here. They understand what I'm talking about. Our designs must now focus going vertical because of the limitation in the availability of land. We need to preserve land. We are also being discouraged from parceling out lands parceling out wetlands. We are also being discouraged from parceling out land for housing in areas which are zoned for social amenities, schools, clinics, ECDs, shopping centers. Let's please take heed. We want to cooperate, yourselves and us, in ensuring that we preserve those wetlands. We preserve the areas that are zoned for other developments. It is important for us to look at that. We have a critical challenge that is affecting every city, every town, and every peri-urban area. A challenge with respect to the existence of informal settlements. Informal settlements where houses have been built without any services being provided. Let me take you back to year 2000. In the year 2000, government, with the desire to provide service distance for housing development and other amenities, invited land developers, invited cooperatives and said, let's work together. We will provide you with land. We will not sell the land to you. We will give you that land for free. Go and provide services. Go and put up roads, water, and sewer. Those were the most critical things then. Government will come and put up the electricity. Sell the developed stands to home seekers, so that the home seekers will then come and buy, put up their houses. The cost, the payments that are being made to you as the developer, and you recover your cost of development through that. It was like a gentleman's agreement. They were given offer letters to develop areas. Unfortunately, as is with us human beings, the developers and the cooperative leaders were not faithful to the promise. They broke the promise from the time it was made. They started parceling out land and selling stands to unsuspecting home seekers, which was not developed. Because the home seeker is desperate, he said, or she said, I will buy the land on the understanding that the developer is going to do the water, roads, and which never happened. Today, Zimbabwe is seized with cities and towns that are encircled by unplanned settlements. We have got that situation even here in Masvingo. If we are to develop to the extent of having Zimbabwe as an upper middle income economy by year 2030, we must regularize, we must sanitize, we must pay particular attention to the existence of informal settlements by providing the services that are not there. The Minister of National Housing and Social Amenities is not going to destroy any house built. I want to clear that fear, because there are some people, we've got our enemies, who are going on social media saying government wants to destroy people's homes. It's not going to happen. What we are going to do is to be working closely with the people that have been settled there, so that we come up with site plans. Department of Physical Planning is going to be very busy. So that when site plans are developed, we then look for developers, genuine developers, who will come and provide those services. They are not going to be done for free, because we are going to be mobilizing funds from banking community. So obviously, you will have to be paying for the part of the servicing cost must be borne by the by the residences. Government will bear the other cost, because it's our responsibility to provide social housing. So I want you to understand that when you see teams from the ministry coming together with the Minister of Local Government, They don't feel threatened. They want to be working closely with you, help us with institutional information that we have regarding those developments, so that we provide the necessary services that are required. We assist right now as a country with urban developments that are serviced by Blair toilets and open wells. That is not development at all. That's taking us back to the 60s and 70s, or 50s and 60s. We do not want that. So we are appealing to local authorities, we are appealing to developers. I'm happy that I understand the developers here are so cooperative. That's what you said.
Yes.
Let me say some of them. But those that may not be cooperating, we want you to cooperate. We're not going to victimize anybody. We want to join hands together and provide the necessary services that these settlements must have, so that they jam well into the development agenda of urban renewal. That's what we want to do. We want to come and build, or invite investors who want to come and build and run schools in those areas. We want proper shopping malls to be built. We have taken a deliberate position because Vision 2030 speaks of an upper middle income level. We must have shopping malls like those that we have seen in other countries, in South Africa, Botswana, the Middle East, China, Asia. Where you go to a shopping mall, it has got everything that you want. We want to invite OK Zimbabwe or Pick and Pay to Nemamwa and build there, so that people in Nemamwa will go and do their shopping within their doorstep. And this will happen throughout the country. These are not programs that will be done in 3 years or 2 years. These are long-term programs, 10 years, but we have to start. And the generation that must start is this generation that is here. So let's help His Excellency the President in realizing that dream and doing what is right. RDCs, local authorities, let's do that which is right. Let's stop now giving out land and people start selling land to people where there are no services. Let's have properly planned services where the site plans are generated, water is done, sewer is done, roads are built, Wi-Fi is provided, alternative energy is provided. Let's do that. And then invite people to come and buy stands, like what used to be the case. I don't see anything stopping us from just doing that. It requires our commitment. Commitment to development, commitment to developing our cities, commitment to developing our RDCs, commitment to developing our Zimbabwe. It can only be done by us alone. It can be done by foreign. We want to, through massive housing programs, to create employment. We want to create wealth in the various areas in the various workstations where we come from, RDCs and towns. This is the agenda that we are driving. These are the ideas that we have got. These are the thoughts that we wanted to share with you. This is the vision that the President has got. And he needs our collaborative efforts. From our workstations, we need to be telling everybody this is what we want to do going forward. We know Minister of Local Government and Public Works is responsible for the provision of land for development, so your local authorities will give us land through your parent ministry. We also know that Minister of Local Government and Public Works is responsible for providing the physical planning or spatial planning services. We need to be doing that. We are also aware that these informal settlements we are talking about do not have title deeds. So if we provide these services, it will be easier for those that are tasked with the proper preparation, surveying and titling of land to do that, because everybody wants to live in a house with the right papers. You don't want to be in a house where if the person who sold that land to you decides to sell to another person, you have no fallback position. Or if you drop dead today, the same person who sold you that land illegally will come and take that land and sell to somebody else. Your children or a spouse, surviving spouse, will not have any recourse to that. We want to correct all those wrongs. We want to put behind us all the ugly legacies that we created as Zimbabweans and start a new chapter in developing our country, a new chapter in developing our RDCs, a new chapter in developing our cities and towns, a new chapter of coming out to shopping malls just like any other country. If others can do it, what stops us from doing it? With that resource that God gave us, the resource called the intellectual capacity, which all of us are endowed with, I don't see us failing. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Beta. Recognizing the Honorable Resident Minister in absentia, also recognizing my principal, the Honorable Minister of National Housing, the council chairs that are here, as well as the chair of the PDC, Mr. Mbetsa, members of Parliament, Honorable Maronke and Honorable Mere, and I think I also saw Honorable Mrambiwa, if I have not mistaken, and DDC chairpersons, as well as our resident engineers and town planners and directors from the Ministry of National Housing. I have been assigned to thank you all for coming today to be able to listen to us as the Minister of National Housing, as I said, articulating our mandate. This is our maiden visit to Masvingo province, initially to allow you as the key people in issues of national housing. I know that local authorities, although you are housed in the Ministry of Local Government, you are also key players in issues of providing national housing towards the Vision 2030. The Ministry of National Housing is not going to be working in solo or as an island when it comes to providing housing for Zimbabweans. We are going to be working with all the stakeholders, as the Honorable Minister has indicated. All the government departments that have a stake in issues of providing accommodation will be pulled along. And the Ministry of Local Government currently is the key personnel that we want to use. That includes the physical planning, the town planners, the RDCs, and also land currently is also still housed in the Ministry of Local Government. So that's why we are coming to you as local authorities to be asking you, rather, are we asking the Honorable Minister, or we are telling you that we are telling you that we want to use the land that you have to build houses for people. That is why we are here. I know local authorities, PDC Chair, Mr. Mbetsa, I know local authorities here in Masvingo. Honestly, they have issues of land. They don't have as much land as compared to other provinces. Most of our local authorities have that problem. It's a genuine concern. However, I'm hoping that after all that the Honorable Minister has said, we are going to be going back to our local authorities and really look within the spaces that we have for all the land that we might have, some extra spaces that we might be able to use. Remember, the Ministry of National Housing is here to facilitate. The Honorable Minister has talked about land, water, sewer reticulation, electricity, social amenities. As a ministry, most of these things we are not going to be providing them ourselves as the Ministry of National Housing. Ministry of Energy is there, local government is there, Ministry of Tourism, of Health, they're also going to be there. What we are going to do as a ministry is to pull everyone along to provide everything that is supposed to be provided to create a proper home. A home with electricity, a home with water, a home with Wi-Fi from the Ministry of ICT, a home with, that is warm. That means using the proper resources. Also looking at issues of COVID. We've also realized as the Minister of National Housing that, COVID has happened, but it has also made us realize that now everyone wants to have their own house. When COVID happened and people were living as lodgers, crowded in urban areas, everyone now wants to build their own houses and put their own draw and have their own water source. So what the Honorable Minister has been trying to say is, Chef Ndine Urombo kuti vanhu vekumasvingo, they have not been asking so many questions. We have a case of being over-intelligent, Honorable Minister. So the people of Masvingo, when you're talking to them, they quickly grasp things and they would and they would not ask so many questions. But then sometimes it also becomes a limitation, because asking questions is also critical in terms of creating clarities. We must not assume that we know everything. Sometimes it is also proper to ask questions and be made clearer on how things are progressing. And it also allows us as Masvingo province to understand the vision of the new ministry. Let's also understand that this is a new ministry with a new vision. We have a new trajectory towards where we want to take issues of national housing. And the Honorable Minister has taken his time to come down here in person to Masvingo province to be able to meet you, the key people, so that you can be able to have first-hand, understanding of where the new ministry wants to go in terms of national housing. We have the workspaces that he was talking about. You local authorities deal with SMEs, which is also another issue that we focus on in terms of social amenities. We want the workspaces to be clean, to be friendly to the people who use them, that is the vendors. So I'm hoping that, as I'm thanking all of you, you have really, really understood. The minister has been very occupied with issues of financing housing. The ministry is only 8 months old, but the Honorable Minister has already met with over 50 potential investors. That includes banks, pension companies, private companies, and also even some government institutions that we have. People that are interested in investing in accommodation. So if you are a local authority, and if you were like me, having listened to the Honorable Minister, I would go back, do an inventory, look at what spaces that I have in my local authority, and contact the Minister of National Housing as soon as possible and ask which one can be my potential investor in my district. Those who have, like, let's take for instance, if you have 2,000 square meters, you can build. I'm not a very good construction person, but I know that with 2,000 square meters, you can be able to put up maybe 20 flats going up on 2,000 square meters. So I'm hoping that as we go back, Masvingo RDCs, we will be able to look for spaces, come to the Minister of National Housing, request for potential investors, people who want to come to your districts to create MOUs with you and build houses for the people. Decongestion. On Mr. Mtemba, you have Chatsworth, you have also Basera. Also look into those other centers where you can then say other people can be given, stands for housing in Chatsworth and others in Basera. That will then decongest Mpandawana and also allow you to be starting to work while list your request for extra, it's not extra because you don't have anything. Mm-hmm. So for your request for land is being considered. So I'm also hoping that other RDCs can also be able to do that. Look into other areas where you can be able to offload, housing issues, so that you don't get to be seriously encumbered and you have serious headaches. But always remember that the Minister of National Housing is now started to move. We are on a roll. We want to see houses everywhere. We understand that besides you, we also have the private sector. We also have people themselves wanting to build housing for themselves. But the key thing is when you have meetings within your RDCs, start looking at issues of modernity, as the Honorable Minister has said. Atichadi vanhu vanovaka zvinyeda. Do you know zvinyeda? Those houses that look west, east, south. We don't want those houses anymore. The Honorable Minister has come here, he has told you, stop building zvinyeda. Stop giving my land developers land, and when you give them land, you don't oversee what they are doing with the land that you have sold to them. When you sell land to the people, make sure that the people that you have sold land to are building proper houses. Going forward, as the Minister of National Housing, our architects will start giving new local authorities modern designs and plans that you can look at to be able to show to the land developers that you are working with, or to the people to say that these are the houses that we want now, climate resistant. Open plan houses, zinopinza mhepo, so that vanhu vasapomerana COVID, vasingakosorani, dzisingadoni. Those are the kind of houses that the Honorable Minister is talking about. So having listened to us, we are really, really grateful, Comment Better. And we are also hoping that you will convey our gratitude to the Honorable Minister when he comes back, for having allowed us as the Minister of National Housing to be coming down to Masvingo to meet these very, very key people, and allowing them to also listen to us in this cold weather, and allowing us to be telling them to go home to their districts and really, really do housekeeping and conduct us as the Minister of National Housing as soon as possible, so that we start talking housing. We will be coming back. We will be coming back, especially to those districts that are going to show that they are eager to be starting on issues of housing. Takachaka vanhu vanoda kuuya kuzokubetserai kuvaka palendi idzodzo dzamuinadzo mazviwaka. So we are hoping kuti muchatibata as soon as possible, so that we start talking business. Let's not delay physical planning. Ndinozviziva shoko racho takariwa veduwe nambo hatiti kana tati tinoita basa redini, basa rofamba. Issues of title deeds, those are housed within your department. Make sure that this thing progress. We don't want to make people build houses and then they don't have title deeds, because as a department you guys are being a bit bureaucratic. Okay, so thank you very much all of you for coming and for listening to us, and we will be hoping that as we come back and when the Honorable Minister gets in touch with our districts, we are now able to understand what we are talking about and where we are going. Thank you, Mr. Mbetsa.
I think the first point is to do with planning. As we plan, first let's design, whether they are houses, whether they are shopping malls, schools, clinics, with sustainability in mind. Our designs must speak to climate change. As we design, let's look at the development that is taking place and come up with structures that speak to affordability. Come up with structures that speak to modernity. A country like the United Arab Emirates was a desert once upon a time, with no natural feature that anyone can admire. Today, the same desert is a destination for every tourist, for two things: shopping and admiring buildings. Those who have been to Dubai, you agree with me. Just admiring the buildings, that's the modernity, that's the new world that we are talking about. I'm not talking about the new normal, which is created by COVID. I'm talking about the new world, where there is tourism based on the infrastructure, based on the buildings that you put up. That's critical. We do that. Number two, I am appealing to all of you to stop parceling out land to individuals who have no capacity to develop. Let's vet people first before we appoint them as developers. so that we put a stop to the mushrooming of informal settlements or duping of innocent home seekers by land barons. So all of us, let's have a clarion call where we are saying no to the existence of land barons. Government have said no to the existence of land barons. His Excellency said, let's put a stop to land barons. So who are we not to say to join the president in that clarion call of stopping informal settlements? We can't have a situation of having Blair toilets in urban areas. You know, what that serves is just creating waterborne diseases. And the issues of typhoid, dysentery, and diarrhea are things that we never knew, but they're so prevalent right now. It's because of those settlements. There is a well which is about 10 meters or 20 meters away from a pit latrine. Water flows underground from the pit latrine to the well, and we take that water for drinking. The next thing, we have got all sorts of complications. So let's be aware of that. Let's be aware of that. Those who still have land, let's plan it properly. And let's look at developing our rural areas so that we influence the movement of people from urban areas back to rural areas. And they enjoy the same facilities that are in the urban areas, in the rural areas. We'll have done a good service by decongesting all urban centers. Because right now what is eating into urban centers is congestion. Congestion of the sewer, congestion of water, electricity, even roads, anything is congested. Because the designs were developed without due consideration as to an exponential growth in population in the urban areas. So we need to do that. And finally, let's take a collective responsibility in developing our country. From our workstations as civil servants, as citizens, let's encourage everybody to develop this country. Let's participate in the development of the country. It's for all Zimbabweans from all walks of life. The national housing backlog stands at 1.5 million right now, effective demand. We want to reduce it to reasonable levels. We can't do it on our own. It has to be a collective responsibility. All of us. Thank you.